Their mission accomplished. Really? 2 U.S. citizens were detained, not criminals, not even immigrants. To quote the president, they don't know what they're doing. What we see are workers punished, children traumatized, U.S. citizens abducted in their sleep, and a father, Silverio Villegas Gonzalez, shot dead. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of cases like this. We celebrate Hispanic heritage, but we also issue a warning. Today, it's Latinos and other immigrants under attack. Tomorrow, it will be others. Once institutions are built to target and control, they don't surrender. They expand. Like many military-industrial complexes, they find new enemies and new missions, new excuses to keep the money flowing and the machinery of fear alive. That's why we will not look away. This is bigger than one community and bigger than one city. It is about the kind of country we are becoming. Chicago will not be intimidated, and I will not stop demanding truth and dignity for Silverio, William, or the children in Cicero, or for every family who deserves to live free from state terror. I yield back.
The gentleman yields. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from New York, Mr. Langworthy, for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today with a heavy heart to honor the life of Charlie Kirk, a husband, a father, a follower of Jesus Christ, and a proud American who devoted himself in his life to awakening civic courage in a new generation. Charlie's faith was central to who he was. He did not shy away from declaring it, nor did he compromise it for the sake of convenience or applause. He was a proud believer in Jesus Christ, and we take comfort knowing that today he is with the Lord. Charlie celebrated the Judeo-Christian values on which this nation is founded: faith, family, freedom, responsibility. And he reminded us that without those values, America would lose the very foundation of its strength. Charlie built his life's work around inspiring others, especially young people, to embrace their responsibilities as American citizens. He told them to get involved, learn your history, speak your mind, and stand firm in your beliefs. He taught America's college students that you could stand up for your values, even if you dared to be a conservative on a liberal campus where your beliefs were vilified. He told them to flex their First Amendment rights, to debate honestly, and to speak boldly, even if professors in campus culture declared them wrong for rejecting socialist or Marxist teachings. Charlie knew America was the greatest country in the history of the world, and he gave students the backbone to defend that truth. He made complex issues clear, and he welcomed debate because he trusted the American people to recognize truth when they heard it. He insisted that free speech was not a partisan slogan, but the lifeblood of our free society. Mr. Speaker, it's impossible to ignore the cruel fact that Charlie's life was cut short by a coward who murdered him in cold blood. But let me be clear, that act of violence did not silence Charlie's voice. It amplified it. Millions and millions of Americans and countless more around the world now know what Charlie stood for, what he worked for, and ultimately what he died for. His legacy is not diminished by his death, it's magnified. The ideas he championed and the courage he displayed is now reaching more hearts and minds than it ever has before. Beyond the public stage, Charlie held the most important roles any of us can claim, that of being a husband and a father. He loved his family very dearly, and he drew strength from his faith. He reminded us that the real work in America doesn't happen in the halls of power, but at the family dinner table, in our houses of worship, in our neighborhoods, and at the ballot box. Charlie's life is measured in the legacy he leaves. Look at the students who registered to vote because he asked them to. Look at the young leaders who chose to serve their communities because he told them they were needed. Look at the millions who felt less alone because he was brave enough to raise his voice. That impact, that's real impact. That is a life well lived in a mission faithfully pursued. To Charlie's wife, Erica, to his beautiful children, and to his family, my and my family's deepest condolence and prayers are with you. May you be sustained by the prayers of a very grateful nation for Charlie's life, and may you take comfort in knowing that Charlie's voice echoes louder than ever. Charlie Kirk's life is a call to action. Let us honor him not with despair, but with dedication. Dedication to faith, to freedom, and dedication to the enduring promise of this great nation. His courage lives on, his message lives on, and his fight for America will always live on. May God bless Charlie Kirk's memory. May God comfort his family, and may God bless the United States of America. And Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
The gentleman yields. The chair recognizes the gentlewoman from the Virgin Islands, Ms. Plaskett, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise with deep pride and reverence to honor Contract Day, recognized annually in the Virgin Islands on October 1st. This day is one of the most defining in our history, and it honors and also celebrates 4 women, queens, who led the St. Croix labor rebellion of 1878, also known as Fire Burn. After enslaved in the Danish West Indies, were freed, fought for, and organized, and received their freedom from chattel slavery in 1848, a new type of slavery was formed to regulate the conditions of the now free workers. The law stipulated a day wage and confined workers to one plantation each year, changeable only on Contract Day, October 1st. These contracts offered no true liberty, forcing families into conditions that mirrored the impression of bondage. Former slaves worked on the same plantations as before, with little to no improvement in their living conditions, health care, education, even their very movement. With rumors of improved conditions proving false on October 1st, 1878, the frustration and anger from the past 30 years of unfair treatment and harsh labor practices after obtaining freedom ignited a rebellion in Frederiksted, St. Croix. Our people declared enough is enough. Out of their courage came one of the most powerful labor uprisings in the Caribbean, one that continues to shape our identity and our fight for justice today. At the center were 4 extraordinary women who we now revere as the queens: Axelina Agnes Elizabeth Solomon, Matilda McBean, Susanna Abramson, and Mary Thomas. These women, ordinary in their beginning, but extraordinary in their courage, stood as leaders and demanded all plantation workers improved wages and repeal of the Labor Act of 1849 that kept workers in serf-like conditions. They gave voice to the pain and determination of an entire people. The rebellion, the fire burn, was not without tremendous costs. 50 lives were lost, many were injured, countless homes and buildings destroyed, and the protesters, many were killed by the Danish government. From that protest came reforms dismantling the labor system. The rights of laborers could no longer be ignored. The Queens have left us a legacy of courage, reminding us that progress is rarely given, it is only through demand. They remind us of the dignity of work, personal freedom, the pursuit of a better life are not privileges, but speak to the very yearning of every human being. We are in a time now when voices are being silenced by our own government. Those in the public sphere are fearful for themselves, their families, their constituents, afraid to speak up, afraid to speak the truth. People are afraid of losing resources, government funds, afraid of being targeted, not just by online thugs, but by their own government. But, Mr. Speaker, I want to talk to my people. Virgin Islanders, I am proud to be a Virgin Islander, that my family, my father's and my mother's ancestors were there on St. Croix during that fire burn, and also during our amazing self-emancipation of 1848. The knowledge, the fact that for centuries, my deepest roots, or as we say, my navel strings, are in the soil of what is now the Virgin Islands. It's what gives me voice and power. It is not only those queens, it's the young boy determined to be a marine biologist, the little girl who writes and dreams of being a poet. They are our history and our future. Contract Day should give us courage. In times we are in, we may be limited and afraid, but we must use our voice to demand more. I yield back.
The gentlewoman yields. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. McClintock, for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, freedom of speech is the beating heart of a democracy. It's the entire reason that this building exists, so that we can talk out our differences. Free societies do not fear free speech, even when that speech is hateful or malignant or stupid. Free societies recognize that the only way to separate fact from fiction, love from hate, truth from lies, wisdom from folly, or good from evil is to put them side by side and to trust the people to know the difference. No central authority must ever be given the power to take this vital freedom away from the people or to punish anyone solely for expressing their opinions. Now, we based our entire form of government on the assumption that when exposed to all sides and all viewpoints, more than half the people are going to get it right more than half the time. This assumption has served us well through the centuries. The left rejects this premise. For many years, leftists have told us that speech is violence and can be answered with violence. This justifies their shouting down opponents and disrupting peaceful assemblies. We've repeatedly watched leftist mobs burn our cities, loot shopkeepers, and assault people on the streets while leftist politicians egg them on. We see the growing physical attacks on law enforcement. The left used the FBI to suppress debate on critical issues ranging from COVID lockdowns to Biden family influence peddling to climate hysteria. It's called for government commissions to regulate it. In Europe, leftist governments now criminalize it. Now, I raise these points because a member of this House recently made some truly vile and despicable remarks about Charlie Kirk after his brutal assassination. Her words should be loudly and universally condemned. Now, last night on the House floor, a resolution of censure was brought against her in the name of Charlie Kirk to formally punish her for her hateful rhetoric. But what did Charlie Kirk say about hate speech? 5 years ago, he said this: "My position is that even hate speech should be completely and fully allowed in our country. The most disgusting speech should absolutely be protected." The ACLU used to hold this viewpoint. The American Civil Liberties Union sued so that actual Nazis could march through downtown Skokie. Now, why would the ACLU do this? They said, as soon as you use the word hate, that's a very subjective term, because then, all of a sudden, it's in the eyes or in the implementation of whoever has the power. So here is my belief: the more speech, the better. That was Charlie Kirk. We must never allow the left to become our teachers. If we ever do, we will lose our country. There will be no moral high ground, no changing of minds, no rebirth of faith and freedom that we so desperately need. Free societies do not fear words and thoughts, even those that are hateful, ugly, evil, or obscene, because the same freedom that protects these darkest impulses of our nature also protects the right of men and women of goodwill to confront them, expose them, and reject them. The only true way to expose them as wrong is to do exactly what Charlie Kirk did until his last breath and with his last breath. When they call us Nazis and fascists and murderers, well, this might be hateful and hurtful, but it's speech nonetheless. It should be criticized in the strongest possible terms as irresponsible, inflammatory, outrageous, revolting, and wrong. It should be ridiculed and shamed. Businesses have every right to protect their reputation. Schools have every right to protect their children. But we should defend their right to say what they will and trust that the vast majority of Americans will see it for what it is. There are only two ways to resolve our differences. There's reason and there's force. The American founders gave us a republic governed by reason and illuminated by freedom of speech. That is the civilization that Charlie Kirk lived for and died for. He devoted his life and ultimately gave his life to restore, strengthen, and perpetuate a free society based on discourse and reason. What a tragedy it would be if in our outrage and grief we were to throw it all away. I yield back.
The gentleman yields. The chair recognizes the gentlewoman from Illinois, Ms. Ramirez, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to honor President April Verrett, a fighter for working people and a fierce advocate for worker power. She's at the forefront of building a labor movement that unapologetically fights for all workers, no matter where they live, no matter what they do. President Verrett is deeply committed to justice, solidarity, and democracy. She has made her life's work to end poverty wage in America. Growing up in the South Side of Chicago, raised by her grandmother, a proud union steward for SEIU Local 46, and rooted in her values, April carries on her family's commitment to community and collective action. In May 2024, April was elected president of SEIU International, making history as the first Black person to serve in this role. As SEIU International president, April brings vision, courage, authenticity to fight for and lift up workers whose voices are often ignored. Her belief that change is possible when we build worker solidarity across perceived differences has led to transformative work to hold employers and government accountable, ensuring they pay their fair share, protect worker wages. She works endlessly to ensure access to unions for all. So on behalf of Illinois' 3rd Congressional District, it is my honor to be able to commend today President April Verrett for blazing trails, leading with intersectional solidarity, and building worker power. Thank you, April. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to honor Maria Correa, a constituent of the Illinois 3rd Congressional District, a poderosa Latina who remembers her roots, and a community leader in the fight for immigrant rights. A resident of West Chicago, Maria's work in the community connects residents with vital resources such as food, housing, and medical support. She's a trusted source of information and counsel, ensuring her neighbors have access to their elected officials and government resources. She organizes and equips her community to engage civically, from helping people to register to vote to promoting participation in the census. Maria makes sure each person she comes into contact with knows that they are seen, that they are loved, and they are valued, and that their voice is heard and recognized. Her dedication, courage, and compassion reminds us of what true leadership is, rooted in service and action. And so on behalf of Illinois' 3rd Congressional District, I am proud to commend Maria Correa for all she does to build power in her community, especially with our Latino neighbors, and for fighting for a more welcoming and just society. Gracias, Maria. Congratulations. And Mr. Speaker, I rise today to honor Maria del Carmen Casimiro, who exemplifies entrepreneurial spirit and the strength and resilience of immigrant communities. Since 1993, Maria's small business in Illinois' 3rd Congressional District has been an anchor for Latino families in the changing communities of Logan Square and Avondale, In the face of gentrification, her commitment to keep her culture alive through the sale of traditional Mexican foods and home goods is in itself commendable. For decades, Maria and her family have brought more than just food to our homes. They've brought cultural pride and a sense of belonging to our community. Maria reminds us that small businesses can make big contributions to strengthen us and unite us. And so on behalf of Illinois' mighty 3rd Congressional District, I am proud to commend Maria del Carmen Casimiro for her decades building community, sustaining cultural identities, and feeding the soul of our neighborhood. Gracias y felicitaciones, Maria. With that, Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
The representative yields back. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Missouri, Mr. Alford, for 5 minutes.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to highlight a special place in Camdenton, Missouri, in the 4th Congressional District of Missouri, the Funky Buffalo Coffee House and Trading Company. A weird name, but that's a great place. It is our September Small Business of the Month. Now, this just isn't an ordinary coffee shop. It's where community happens. Families gather, students study, friendships are built, real conversations are had, like we used to do back in the day. We had the opportunity to stop by there and have some of their great coffee and see firsthand during one of our town hall tour stops in August. From seasonal, yes, we actually did town hall tours, so I know a lot of you are surprised at that. We got out there and listened to people. From seasonal fall specialty coffees to strawberry lemonade smoothies, the Funky Buffalo is always offering new drink recipes. The Funky Buffalo is run by Kendra. She's a wife, a mom of 3, and now a bold small business owner. She and her husband, Chris, have poured their hearts into this place, creating not just a business, but a blessing for our district. Their family is directly affected by 22 a day, the number of veterans who take their own lives each and every day. Uncle Rye, Kendra's husband, younger brother, was just 26 when he lost his battle to post-traumatic stress on U.S. soil. Ryan was a son, a brother, a best friend, and an uncle. And folks, this is why 100% of their shop's net proceeds of coffee, awareness bracelets, and awareness shirts are donated to veteran suicide prevention programs and other veteran organizations. I am more than proud to recognize the Funky Buffalo as our Small Business of the Month, and I thank them for investing in people, investing in our community, our district, and in the American dream. Well, Mr. Speaker, today I'm honored to recognize our September Veteran of the Month, Mr. Dale Karst. Dale proudly served in the United States Air Force, entering service on September 16th of 1966. After basic training, he was stationed at Whiteman Air Force Base with the Air Police Squadron before deploying to Vietnam with the 377th Combat Defense Unit. He was stationed at Tan Son Nhut during the Tet Offensive and one of the most dangerous moments of that war. When he returned home, Dale was stationed at Grand Forks Air Force Base in North Dakota. Dale told me his most cherished memory of service was returning from Vietnam to meet his newborn child and embracing his wife again. A moment he wasn't sure he'd ever see. Well, today, Dale and his wife, Patty, enjoy time with their grandchildren and working on projects together. And really, he reminds us of 3 things we must always honor, and that is God, family, and country. Dale's got some health challenges right now, and I had the opportunity of visiting him at our VA hospital in Kansas City a few weeks ago. And although he's going through these challenges, he has a big smile on his face. And I just want to tell Dale that we are praying for you. You're going to make this, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure you get the best health care through the VA system. Please join me in thanking Mr. Dale Karst, a true American hero, for his courage, his sacrifice, and his enduring love for the United States of America. Dale, we love you. Thank you, and I yield back.
The representative yields back. The chair recognizes the gentlelady from Michigan, Ms. Tlaib, for 5 minutes.
As some of my colleagues continue to try to attempt to bully and silence me, I need to remind all of them that I grew up in Detroit, and the more you try to shut us up, the louder we get. So as we speak right now, the Israeli government is moving to exterminate Palestinians. The US-backed, US-funded genocide in Gaza is reaching new levels of horror every single day that we do not take action to stop it. There's no more denying it, Mr. Speaker. The International Association of Scholars, Genocide Scholars, hundreds of world's leading experts on genocide has determined that the Israeli government is committing genocide. So, Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to submit for the record the International Association of Genocide Scholars resolution on Gaza.
Without objection.
In this week, the United Nations Independent International Commission of Inquiry has concluded that the government of Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. It calls on all countries to take immediate concrete actions to prevent and punish genocide, to stop sending weapons to the Israeli government, and to bring individuals forward, again, to hold them accountable and to seek justice for the genocide. So again, Mr. Speaker, just for my colleagues, if they would like to read it, I'm going to submit for the record, and you ask unanimous consent to submit for the record the UN's Independent International Commission of Inquiry report on the crime of genocide in Gaza.
Without objection.
The new determinations only confirm what Palestinians, eyewitnesses, journalists, researchers have been saying for nearly 2 years. This is a genocide. Journalists murdered in unprecedented numbers in human history, so that there is no one left to show the world what is being done. Forced starvation, Mr. Speaker, the destruction of entire cities, luring starvation and desperate people to fake food, literally, fake food distribution sites in order to kill them. They call them the killing fields. Multiple generations of families, entire bloodlines wiped out, newborns left decomposing in the NICU as hospitals, doctors, and ambulances are systematically targeted and destroyed. So, Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to submit for the record an official report of the names and ages of Palestinians confirmed and killed in Gaza.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, look at this. I want the American people to see this. The first 21 pages are all infants who did not live long enough to see their first birthday. Over 60,000 human lives confirmed dead so far. Children's smiles extinguished every single day by bombs that say made in the United States of America. Experts say, and we all know this, that the death toll is likely tens of thousands higher, with countless bodies still trapped under the rubble. This must end. As we speak, the Israeli military is moving to wipe what remains of Gaza City off the map, the largest city in Palestine, a vibrant city of 1 million people that has existed for thousands of years, erased from before our eyes. This is not only the Israeli government's genocide, Mr. Speaker, this is our government's genocide. Our government provides the bombs, the diplomatic cover, and the complete and total impunity to kill, bulldoze, and exterminate. Some of my colleagues cruelly cheer these war crimes on, while others quietly express their concerns while voting to send more bombs anyway. But the American people know the truth about this genocide. They know what their own eyes are seeing, and they are rising up to say no more. No more bombs, no more weapons, no more genocide. This will not stop until we act in this body. It is not too late to save lives. For humanity's sake, we must act now. Mr. Speaker, I want to take a moment to welcome all of my Black neighbors throughout the 12th Congressional District to the People's House for Congressional Black Caucus's annual Legislative Conference Week. Our city, the city of Detroit, the most beautiful, blackest city where I was born and raised, has strong roots with the Congressional Black Caucus. Our city, for me, it's no coincidence that the very first chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, Representative Charles Diggs, was born and raised also in Detroit, carrying forward our city's legacy of resilience and movements, and so much, again, fights against oppression here and across the world. It is also another son of Detroit, my predecessor and founder of the Congressional Black Caucus, Congressman John Conyers, who stood with Dr. King and later becoming the driving force behind making Dr. King's birthday a national holiday. So I'm so incredibly proud to welcome all of my neighbors, my residents, elected officials to the nation's capital. Welcome to Congressional Black Caucus Week.
The gentlelady's time has expired. The representative yields back. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Alabama, Mr. Strong, for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to congratulate Lieutenant General Robert A. Rash, Jr. as he concludes 36 years of exceptional service and faithful service to the United States of America. Throughout his tenure, General Rash has embodied the spirit of a soldier, inspiring those that have served with and under his leadership. Born in Germany, where his father was stationed with Army Special Forces, General Rash, his connection to the military began early in life. He graduated from the University of Georgia and followed his father's footsteps, joining the Army as a second lieutenant in 1989. His military journey also led him to his wife, Shondell Mann, a fellow soldier he met while in Alaska. Together, they have two accomplished children, Darby, an emergency physician, and Michael, who continues the family legacy as an infantry captain. Their family continues to grow with the expected arrival of their first grandchild in October. Throughout his career, General Rash served in various capacities, including key roles within the Acquisition and Systems Automation Corps. He led as the project manager for the Army's Integrated Battle Command System and later as the military deputy to the commanding general of the Army Aviation and Missile Command. In 2017, he earned his first star as a deputy program executive officer at PEO Missiles and Space, and his second star came in 2019 when he took over the PEO role. He is credited as a primary driver for the modernization and intelligence of fire within the Army. He earned the third and final star in 2022, becoming the director of the Army's Rapid Capability and Critical Technologies Office, more affectionately known as RCTO. In this role, he has overseen the rapid prototyping and fielding of several key programs, including the Mid-Range Capability Program, Army-Directed Energy Systems, and the Long-Range Hypersonic Weapon as a first-of-its-kind capability. General Rash served in both Desert Storm and the global war on terrorism. Over his 36 years of service, he has earned numerous awards, including the Army's Distinguished Service Medal, the Legion of Merit, and the Combat Infantry Badge. He is also a Ranger Qualified Soldier, holding the prestigious Ranger Tab. General Rash's leadership and mentorship will be missed by many, especially those at Redstone Arsenal in Alabama's 5th Congressional District. Those who served with him describe him as exactly the kind of leader that soldiers trust and are willing to follow into battle. This nation is grateful for his service and is better because of it. We salute General Robert A. Rash, Jr. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to speak on an issue of historic importance for our nation's security and for the people of North Alabama. This decision to base the United States Space Command headquarters at Redstone Arsenal in Huntsville, Alabama. For more than 60 years, our community has been at the heart of the American space story. North Alabama has been at the forefront of innovation for more of the rockets that carried our astronauts to the moon, to the systems that now protect our homeland and our warfighter. We've earned the nickname the Rocket City because innovation and national defense are in our DNA. Space Command is charged with ensuring America's superiority in the most demanding contested domain of the future. To protect the United States, we need a headquarters located where talent, research, and mission readiness intersect. With the support of President Trump, it has been decided that Huntsville is that place. Redstone Arsenal is a hub for missile defense with unmatched infrastructure and mission synergy. Our workforce brings together military expertise, leading civilian aerospace professionals, and a pipeline of scientists and engineers. This is not just about geography, it's about capability, efficiency, and effectiveness. This decision is not about partisan politics. It's about national security. It's about ensuring that our brave men and women in uniform have every advantage. We must be the most lethal force this world has ever seen. Huntsville offers facilities and partnerships needed for immediate mission success and long-term capability to grow and sustain the command well into the future. North Alabama demonstrates that patriotism, technical excellence, and innovation exist together. North Alabama is ready. America will be stronger because of it. Our time is now. Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
The representative yields back. The chair recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Costa, for 5 minutes. The gentleman is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today with a heavy heart, but also with a sense of hope. I want to tell you about a remarkable young man named Ian Calvinus. Ian was one of my interns this summer, a Pasadena native. He loved soccer and carried a curiosity about the world that was boundless as his spirit. As a UCLA student with a deep passion for public service, he dreamed of pursuing a career in foreign policy and one day working for the United Nations. At just 15, though, Ian was diagnosed with liver cancer. He underwent a transplant at UCLA, and for more than 4 years seemed that he had beaten the disease. But in November 2024, his cancer returned. Ian knew his time was short, yet he refused to let that define him. Instead, he came to the Capitol Hill because he told us, I want to make a difference. Even while battling the illness, Ian focused on helping pediatric patients get fair consideration on the transplant waiting list. Sadly, Ian's internship was cut short. He passed away in June at the age of 20, surrounded by his family in the shadow of the Capitol he so admired. His doctor, Sue McDermott, one of the premier transplant physicians in the world, told me his personal courage was remarkable and an inspiration to her and all that knew him. But his final days were not defined by his illness. They were defined by his courage and by his idealism, by his determination to use time he had left to help others. In honor of Ian's life, I'm proud to introduce the Ian Calvinus Pediatric Liver Cancer Early Detection and Screening Act. This bill will advance the very work that Ian hoped to pursue. It would direct the Department of Health and Human Services with input from the CDC's Center for Disease Control to strengthen education to parents and providers to spot early signs of liver disease in children. It would require the Government Accountability Office to report on what we are doing now and how many children are lost each year while waiting for a liver transplant, or whether adding a simple newborn test could save lives. Mr. Speaker, Ian's story is not an isolated story. Over 100,000 Americans every day are waiting for an organ transplant. Back home in the San Joaquin Valley, Austin Salinas, a young boy, has spent his life battling hyperdystrophia, a serious kidney condition that has meant countless surgeries and now the use of an ostomy bag. More than 11 years has defied the odds with remarkable resilience. Like Ian, his journey is more than endurance. It's about survival and the hope of a life-saving transplant. It's about inspiration. It's about courage. These young people who really want to live and have a full life. Families like Ian's and Austin shouldn't have to fight alone. They deserve a system that works for them, and gives them every chance to live a full and healthy life. This legislation is, therefore, then is about the gift of life and giving better opportunities for over 100,000 Americans awaiting an organ transplant every day. I encourage my colleagues and their staff to take the time to read this bill and consider joining us. By supporting this legislation, we ensure that Ian's fight and the legacy will live on for the lives of children and their families in the future that will be saved. I ask my colleagues to join me in honoring Ian Calvinist and his son, a student, and now through this legislation, a catalyst for change. God bless you, Ian. May his memory continue to light a path forward for all of us. I yield back the balance of my time.
The representative yields back. The chair recognizes the gentlewoman from Alabama, Ms. Sewell, for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to congratulate an extraordinary educator from my hometown of Selma, Alabama, Ms. Veronica Pitts of Selma High School, for being named the National Civics Teacher of the Year by the Bill of Rights Institute. Each year, only one teacher in the nation is selected to receive this prestigious honor, and I am thrilled that this year the teacher hails from Alabama's 7th Congressional District. Ms. Pitts exemplifies the very best of what it means to be an educator and a public servant. With a deep passion for education and a tireless commitment to her students, she has dedicated her career to teaching not just government and economics, but the importance of civic engagement and community leadership. Through her engaging lessons, Ms. Pitts has helped her students understand that democracy is not a spectator sport. It requires informed, empowered, and active participants. Her classroom is a place where students don't just learn about the government, they learn about their role in shaping it. As the daughter of 2 lifelong educators who worked at Selma High School for over 36 years, I know firsthand the transformational power of good education, especially good education in Selma. I have seen what our students can do and achieve with the help of amazing students, amazing teachers, and wonderful role models. Teachers like Ms. Pitt do more than prepare young people for tests, they prepare them for life. They nurture curiosity, instill core values, and light the spark of leadership that will carry students far beyond the school walls. Located less than 2 miles up the road from the historic Edmund Pettus Bridge, it is only befitting that from Selma High School would emerge a teacher who is building the next generation of civic leaders, activists, and change agents. After all, it was the people of Alabama's 7th Congressional District that brought us the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. These were ordinary Americans who dared to make this nation live up to its highest ideals of equality and justice for all. On behalf of Alabama's 7th Congressional District, I ask my colleagues to join me in congratulating Veronica Pitts. We are all so proud of you, and we are grateful for the work that you do each and every day to create opportunities for our students to thrive. Thank you, and I yield back the balance of my time.
The representative yields back. The chair recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Peters, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today because we face a critical moment for American leadership. Amid mounting pressure to compete with China in energy, biotechnology, and AI dominance, any smart country would invest in itself and invest in the future. Unfortunately, this administration seems committed to do the exact opposite. Funding cuts to the National Institutes of Health and the National Science Foundation have kneecapped the world-class research ecosystem that has made America great in the 20th century. The politicization of science hurts the health and well-being of hardworking American citizens and compromises our ability as a nation to compete with other nations. During August, I held a town hall with hundreds of my constituents who are researchers and graduate students in science, technology, engineering, and math. During the town hall, I discussed the dangers of this administration's agenda for public health, national security, and global competitiveness, and they asked that I tell you some of their stories. One researcher studies ocean and earth sciences at San Diego's prestigious Scripps Institution of Oceanography. Her research focuses on addressing the threats that toxic algal blooms pose to public health, fisheries, and coastal recreation. With cuts to NASA, NOAA, and the National Science Foundation, she's seen labs at Scripps shut down and watched her coworkers lose their jobs. Another scientist whose research focuses on ensuring energy security has felt the consequences of this administration's policy. She's had her research censored by an administration that's indifferent to and maybe hostile to science research. She's watched critical data sets and research tools disappear from government websites overnight. As she so aptly put it, quote, "I've sacrificed so much of my livelihood for the betterment of our planet, only to see it all burn down in less than half a year." Maisha, a researcher at UCSD, overcame her own traumatic brain injuries and chronic illnesses so she could study the effects of infectious diseases on vulnerable patients. Now Maisha faces a new challenge, overcoming an administration that's cut her authorized research funding, cut her working hours almost in half, and cut her income significantly. Mari is a PhD candidate studying biomedical sciences at UCSD. She researches the neuroscience behind drug addiction so we can fight the opioid crisis. Just as her field gained momentum, overdose deaths declined in 2024 for the first time in over 2 decades. Her lab was threatened with funding cuts, and Mari has watched her life-saving research halted, had 2 of her own fellowship applications withdrawn because of the administration's actions. Eugene is a PhD candidate at Scripps. He's researching how to repurpose bacteria to stop certain cancer-causing proteins. The lab next door to Eugene's was doing a $129 million trial on monkeys, working to develop an HIV vaccine. Now, after the Trump administration canceled the lab's grant, the monkeys were killed needlessly, the funding already spent was wasted, and patients will now have to wait even longer before we find an HIV vaccine. Maya, a UCSD grad, co-founded Brainstorm Therapeutics, a biotech startup researching treatments for brain diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and epilepsy. Maya has seen the grants that support startups like hers cut. This threatens the transformational science that she and her colleagues are working on. The final story I'd like to tell, and maybe the most emblematic of the issue, is that of Dr. Artem Patapoutian. He's a world-renowned researcher who won the Nobel Prize for his work on researching the sense of touch. Now, I think we all agree that that's the kind of talent we strive to encourage in this country. When his research funding was delayed by the Trump administration, Dr. Patapoutian received a call from China within 2 days, offering for him to pick whatever research institution he wanted in China and guaranteeing his funding for the next 20 years. Although his funding is currently still delayed, Dr. Patapoutian chose to stay here because of the world-class research ecosystem in the United States that's currently being eroded and under attack. These stories show the risks we take when we cut funding that supports critical scientific advancement. China is far outpacing us in the research and development space, and if we're going to keep up, we have to put up. And if those of us in this body are truly serious about putting America first, this is simply not the way. It's encouraging that despite the administration's attempt to politicize science, a bipartisan bloc of the Senate Appropriations Committee has chosen to modestly increase scientific research funding rather than cut it. And I'm very thankful for that. I hope we'll do the same here in the House. I appreciate the commitment to investing in America's future. We in the House should do the same. We need to invest in science, not undercut it. And Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
The representative yields back. The chair recognizes the representative from Florida, Mr. Herodopoulos, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to honor Frank John Smith. Frank served 4 years in the United States Air Force as Airman Second Class, specializing in communications and navigation reports. His service took him from Japan to Ripley, Tennessee. He and a small team successfully maintained multiple remote communication stations. For his dedication, Frank was awarded the Good Conduct Medal. On behalf of Florida Space Coast and Treasure Coast, I thank Frank John Smith for his faithful service to our nation. His commitment reflects the best of Brevard County and the United States Air Force. Mr. Speaker, earlier this month, our office was honored to take part in Space Coast Honor Flight Send-Off. Veterans from across the Space Coast traveled to Washington and were recognized for their faithful service. I am proud that 5 members of our district team joined those families and supporters at the Melbourne Airport to send our heroes off. These veterans represent each branch of our armed services, and their courage and sacrifice are a powerful testament to the freedoms we enjoy today. I also want to thank Honor Flight Organization and volunteers for their work and ensures these patriots receive the honorable recognition that they deserve. So on behalf of the Space and Treasure Coast, and of course the son of a veteran, and our son who serves in the United States Air Force, I thank veterans and the active members of our service for their incredible sacrifice. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize Chandler Braid, founder of Youth Republicans of Brevard, and many members of our community who come together in a recent vigil honoring the late Charlie Kirk. Their gathering reflects the values Charlie Kirk lived by: faith, patriotism, and commitment to develop the next generation of American leaders. Over 500 people, community from across many different towns, gathered for this vigil. Charlie Kirk will always be remembered as someone who challenged young people to be engaged as citizens and never shy away from standing for their beliefs. The vigil in Brevard County was just one example of many across the globe, showing that his influence will continue to inspire. I want to thank the Youth Republicans of Brevard, led by Chandler Braid, for her amazing leadership in showing that our best days are still ahead, and we will always remember Charlie's incredible legacy, patriotism, and love of our country. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
The representative yields back. The chair recognizes the gentlelady from Minnesota, Ms. McCollum, for 5 minutes.
Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Republicans say they have a mandate. President Trump has told his party, don't even bother working with Democrats. Congressional Republicans wanted to go it alone when they passed President Trump's one big, beautiful bill, and now the American people are finding out it's really a pretty big, ugly mess, especially when it comes to their health care and their everyday lives. Republicans made devastating health care cuts to Medicaid and the Children's Health Insurance Program. $990 billion worth of cuts. And now we're just 2 weeks away from a government shutdown. Speaker Johnson is once again refusing to work across the aisle with Democrats. Now, Democrats want to prevent exploding health insurance premiums. They've already started to show up in some people's mail. And that's because the Affordable Care Act subsidies are about to expire. Oh, that was part of President Trump's big, beautiful bill. Now, I want to ensure that funding Congress passes actually is delivered to the people in our communities. And I don't want it to be illegally cut or withheld by the Trump administration, as we're seeing cuts in CDC, NIH, Department of Education, and we all know what happened to the State Department and USAID. Basically, just stamped out from existence. Now, if House Republican leadership wants to go it alone on federal funding to keep our government open, well, that's their prerogative. But they shouldn't expect my vote. With that, I yield back.
The representative yields back. The chair recognizes the representative from Arizona, Ms. Ansari, for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to call for empathy in the wake of fear-driven hate. Fear has become the air we breathe in America. Parents breathe it as they drop their kids at school, wondering if today will be the day they get a call that no parent should ever get. Teachers breathe it walking into classrooms, rehearsing how they might shield their students. Immigrant families breathe it in their own neighborhoods, where ICE raids at schools and festivals turn everyday life into a source of terror. Transgender Americans breathe it just stepping outside, never knowing if they will be targeted for simply existing as themselves. Journalists and everyday Americans breathe it for simply exercising their free speech rights. And elected leaders, including myself, breathe it after watching colleagues and public figures gunned down in front of their families. This is the America we are living in right now, and this is not okay. You don't need to agree with someone's politics to say that their murder is a tragedy. The assassination of Charlie Kirk, the murders of Minnesota House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband, the countless children lost to school shootings, these are not partisan issues, these are human tragedies. Violence against any American is violence against us all. And yet, what did we hear in the immediate aftermath? Not space for grief, not respect for the families left behind, but Fox News hosts declaring, "This is a war." That is not what America needs right now. That instinct to weaponize tragedy betrays our humanity. Because political disagreements, even vast ideological differences, never justify violence. The assassination of Charlie Kirk is a reminder of the imminent threat that having so many guns in our society poses to all of us, not just to our immediate safety, but to our freedom and to our democracy. Violence cannot heal division. History teaches us that it only deepens it. And somewhere along the way, we have lost our empathy. We started debating which families deserve protection, which communities deserve safety, which children deserve dignity. That is not who we are supposed to be. Empathy is not weakness, empathy is strength, and empathy is action. It is action against the epidemic of loneliness that leaves millions disconnected and vulnerable, a crisis that fuels despair and radicalization. We need to invest in connection in this country, in schools, in civic spaces, in mental health services, and in communities where people can see one another as human beings again. Empathy is action against the viciousness of unchecked social media. Cruelty isn't an accident on these platforms, it's their business model. When algorithms reward division and hate, that hate doesn't stay online. It shows up in our streets and in our schools and in our politics. Congress cannot keep looking away while big tech profits from tearing our communities apart. And empathy is action against gun violence. The fear that stalks every one of us, it stalks every school, every community, every public gathering. Enough with the excuses. Enough is enough. Children's lives are worth more than the profits of gun manufacturers. We need common sense gun safety laws, and we need funding for mental health care. And we cannot weaponize tragedy to silence dissent. When hate and fear are unleashed, nobody is safe. Today, it may be immigrants, tomorrow, transgender Americans, last week, a conservative political leader. Hate corrodes the bonds of belonging for all of us. So I'm asking my colleagues to resist the temptation to harden your hearts. Choose empathy instead. Choose courage over cruelty. Choose action over indifference. Because our strength as a nation will never be measured by how viciously we fight one another, but by how deeply we care for one another. Let this moment of grief be a call to empathy, to decency, and to action. I yield back.
The representative yields back. The chair recognizes the representative from Minnesota, Ms. Morrison, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I rise to read a letter from more than 20 survivors of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. I implore my colleagues and all Americans to listen to their words. Dear members of the Republican Women's Caucus, we write to you today with urgency, respect, and hope. Strong American women are serving in the House of Representatives, and survivors of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's abuse need you to stand with them. It is difficult to articulate the appreciation that we have for each member of the Democratic Women's Caucus who took the time to meet with us on September 3rd, 2025. Because of the intrepid leadership of Chairwoman Teresa Leger Fernandez and the Congresswomen who gathered together to support us, we left the Capitol with dignity and resolve. We are likewise eternally grateful to Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, and Nancy Mace, as well as to Congressmen Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna for taking bold steps to help us in our quest for justice. While we are at a loss for how supporting survivors or transparency could ever be seen as a, quote, hostile act, what you are doing is not only right, it is necessary. This is not a partisan issue, it is a human issue. Jeffrey Epstein abused hundreds of women. The United States government itself held evidence that he had sexually abused 40 children. Some of us are those children. Any other American man would have been imprisoned for life, yet Epstein was not. Instead, he was shielded by a non-prosecution agreement that blatantly violated the rights of children, and he was set free to continue abusing women in this country for another 9 years before his death. Our government conspired with him, and in doing so failed to protect hundreds of girls who would never have been harmed had our government simply done its job. Those children are now grown women. We stand together in pain and resilience, and we are asking for your help. We have a right to feel safe in this country. We have a right to know why a serial sexual predator was treated with more humanity than we have ever experienced from our own government. You now have the chance to be on the right side of history. Unlike past administrations, you are uniquely positioned to tell us that our voices matter and that we have finally been heard. Some of us live in your districts. We look to you to represent us. We deserve for you to represent us. We implore you to stop protecting those who enabled Epstein's crimes and instead stand firm in protecting the women and children he harmed. Stand up against abuse of power. Take action to end the silence and speculation surrounding this criminal. There should be equal protection under the law in the United States of America. This is one country, not two. The rich and powerful should answer for their crimes the same way that everyone else does. And when they don't, we deserve to know why. Ghislaine Maxwell was tried by a jury of her peers for the crimes that she committed, and she was convicted. That is how the American justice system works. The idea of a pardon is beyond the comprehension of the victims who mustered the courage to testify against her and should be beyond the comprehension of the American people. No one should live above the law. Ghislaine Maxwell is certainly no exception. You may be wondering how you can help us in this fight. At least we hope you are. As American women, please hear our voices for yourselves, for your daughters, for women, and for the future of our country. First, we ask that you vote in favor of the Epstein Transparency Act and that you help us ensure with its passing that the identities of survivors are protected and the identities of the perpetrators or enablers are not. Remind us that America is the country that we thought it was when we were little girls, before we were let down repeatedly by our own government. Second, start with H.R. 9444 and rewrite the Crime Victims Act as codified in 18 United States Code Section 3771 to protect future generations of Americans. Third, extend the same opportunity that the Democratic Women's Caucus did and invite us to meet with you so that we can try to convince you that we matter. We will come back to Washington. We will tell you why we matter. We will tell you why this matters. We are not a, quote, hoax. We are mothers, daughters, sisters, friends, and wives. We are America. We have sought justice for decades to no avail. We have been denied the basic rights that should be afforded to every American citizen time and time again. The fact that it took this long for anyone to care about us is a true American tragedy. Please stand with us, help us uncover the truth, and give us the respect and justice that we deserve. We deserve to put this chapter behind us. Americans deserve to move forward knowing that they have rights in this country that will be enforced even in the face of power. In fact, especially in the face of power. With hope and resolve signed by more than 20 survivors of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell.
The gentlelady's time has expired. The chair recognizes the gentlelady from Colorado, Ms. Peterson, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today following the horrific events of last week in my community and the rise of political violence nationally. Last week, I was sitting in my office in a meeting when the phone lit up. Charlie Kirk had been shot at an event in Utah. And seconds later, my phone lit up again. There was an active shooter at Evergreen High School, which is not far away from my house. Our schools are supposed to be our safest places. And unfortunately, that is far from our reality in the United States. And what happened in Evergreen High School is every parent's worst nightmare. And I felt shocked and horrified as I waited minute by minute, not knowing how many lives might be taken. And I couldn't help but think, what if that had been my kid's school? My heart breaks for the 2 students who continue to fight for their lives in the hospital, and the parents who are at their bedside, not knowing if they will ever come home again, and for the kids and the educators who will carry this trauma forever. And throughout the day, as I went back and forth, thinking about the tragedy in Evergreen to the tragedy, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, I couldn't stop thinking about his 2 kids who will have to grow up not having their dad, and his wife, Erica, who lost her husband and partner. Charlie Kirk was exercising one of the most foundational pieces of our democracy, engaging in free speech and debating your political views in a public space without being threatened or silenced. And he was targeted because of this. And before this assassination in April, Governor Josh Shapiro's house was set on fire and endangered his entire family. Just 2 months after that, 2 Democratic lawmakers, Melissa Hortman and John Hoffman, were gunned down in their homes. And tragically, Melissa died alongside her husband, Mark. Nobody should be killed for their views. This is not how we settle our differences. I can't help but feel that we have lost our way as a country. The radicalization and easy access to firearms has been a lethal combination that doesn't just impact one party, one state, or one community. This impacts all of us. And any one of us in our families or someone we love could be affected. But Donald Trump doesn't take this moment to unite us as a country, and instead has chosen to fan the flames. He refuses to bring us together to unequivocally denounce all of the political violence that we have faced. Instead, he has weaponized this moment and this tragedy to go after people who disagree with him. And right now, so many of us are questioning who we are as a country and wondering how we got here. And I know that we're so much better than this, and I have to have hope that our country can find its way again. We must build the future that our kids deserve, where we're safe at school, the movie theater, the grocery store, where we can go to a political rally without worrying about getting shot, and where we can disagree with the president and the political party in charge without being targeted. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to ask my colleagues, if you continue to reel from the death of Charlie Kirk, the shooting in Evergreen, the killing of Melissa Hortman and her husband, Are you going to stand by while someone's father